Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special episode that I have been really looking forward to. I have a new product to share with you. I'm going to unbox it, we're going to swatch it, we're going to paint with it and color with it. What is it? It is this, the Pearlescent Colors, the Premium series by Finetec. These are the most bougie, expensive glitter paints I have ever bought, and they have real silver in it. So I'm going to be painting and coloring with silver today. Let's get started. Now, before we can start coloring with silver, I need to show you some new coloring pages, and this is one that I'm going to be working on today. I thought it was perfectly appropriate for some silver bells with real silver. Ooh, I'm so excited to see how it's going to look. So this page right here we're going to make as a limited time download for free at our website. So follow the link in the video description. We've got tons of holiday coloring pages already and waiting for you. So this one, you can color it just like me today or try some of your own products. Should be lots of fun. Now I'm also going to be coloring on black today to see how this silver coloring paint works on black. I have this mandala that's made up of a whole bunch of bells, so we can do silver bells again, this time on black. And this page is also a free download for limited time, and you can print it on whatever paper you want, black, white, watercolor, whatever you want. Now I have two more coloring pages, and these ones are new and going into the premium library. So if you support us over at Coloring Bliss to keep us making content like this and coloring pages for you, then you have access to these two new pages. We have this adorable gnome family working on their holiday Christmas tree. So cute. And we have this one right here, this very cute little gnome hauling around a cute little Christmas stocking. I hope you enjoyed these new pages that we've been releasing. It's so much fun to make lots of different kinds of art available to you. But now I am ready to do some unboxing of our new paint. I have been collecting glitter, metallic, pearlescent, iridescent paints for quite a while because I am quite obsessed with the whole thing. How they look on the paper, how they paint, how the rinse water looks, all of it just makes me so happy. So I'm excited to try these two new products. Now, I purchased this product on, I think it was a Black Friday deal on Blick.com, and as a free gift for purchasing this, I got this one right here. So we're going to talk about both, but this literally is the most expensive glitter paint I have ever bought. Did you realize, Steve, when we ordered this, how expensive this was? Let me just let you know. This box right here cost us $58.49.
Ouch.
For 6 colors. That's $9.75 per pan of color.
Wow.
Very expensive. Let me show you a few of the other brands I already own. I have this set here that is from Hobby Lobby, and it has 2 rows of paint. So you get, I don't know, a lot of colors here for a very inexpensive price. This is my least expensive set of paints right here, and I think it costs around $9 for this whole
Really?
set. All these beautiful different colors. Just $9, you guys. And then I have, was my most expensive set right here. This is the Paul Rubens, which comes in a fancy box with a fancy cloth and a very nice tin. And this set costs, well, not exactly this set, the 48 set costs $77. This is a 24 set and it cost me $50. So this used to be my really most expensive set, which is what, about $2 a pan.
Yeah, and they're little.
And they're smaller pans. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And this has been my absolute favorite set. And we've done a video in the past on my glitter paints. So I'll be showing you some of those swatches from that video here in a minute. And then, of course, I have the 3 Kuretakes, and there's a 4th that I haven't purchased yet that I think is opal colors. I've got the gem colors. I've got I think these are the pearl.
Your fingers covering it.
Oh. Yeah, this is the pearl, this is the gem, and this is the starry, and it's the opal set that I don't have. And all of these run around $16 per set. So 16 for 6 pans is roughly $2.75 a pan. That's my quick bad math, but you get the point. These are only $2.75 a pan. These boys over here, $9.75 a pan.
Wow.
And to buy this one right here, open stock, just one color, is over $15.
Oh, just that one that we got for free?
Yes, so this is equal to the cost of all of these. So these Finetec Premium paints better be special because this is expensive and cool. I'm going to compare it to all of these so we can see if they're doing better or miraculous things, and I'm going to read you a little bit about why they say this is premium. Finetec has different lines. You'll find some that are much more price effective, but this is their premium line. So let's read about what makes a Finetec premium product. So this is straight from Dick Blick's website. That's where I found the best explanation of what makes the premium Finetec watercolors different. So it says that Finetec Premium watercolors are crafted with special and unique pigments to produce rich colors with a beautiful shimmering quality. Most of the colors in the line are formulated with just a single pigment, which is a big deal if you are a watercolorist. A substrate containing synthetic mica or glass results in a clear, highly chromatic color without the muted brown tones that natural mica produces. Some colors, such as Galaxy Black, which I wish I had bought but I didn't because it was too expensive, also contains a colorless raw material to produce multicolored sparkle. The iridescent colors are highly transparent with intense dramatic shimmer. And the real silver is actually made with real silver pigments, so it is highly reflective, yet allows for optimal mixing with other pearlescent colors. I'm so excited that these came in a tin. I wish it had one more slot so I could pop this in, but I'll have to find a way to take care of this and keep it nice. Probably just keep it right in here for now. I know they sell empty tins that hold their specific pans, so that could be another option if I love them and have to collect more like that Galaxy Black I was reading about. I may need to buy that one. Okay, so I'm really, really glad it had a tin. Now, the first thing that we need to do is get them wet and ready to swatch. So I'm going to use a water sprayer and spray everything. This is that silver with real silver in it. I can't wait. So get them all nice and wet. And I have several swatch books that I can swatch into. This swatch book here has some of the metallic colored swatches already done here, so we can compare directly if I swatch on here. And there is 6 little swatch slots, and I have it also swatched on black, all of these beautiful metallic paints, because a lot of them will look very different and do some very amazing things here on black paper. So I want to see it on black and I want to see it on white. So bring this up, get things ready, and let's roll some swatching footage. I wanted to remind you that these beautiful swatch books that I'm working in can be printed on many different types of paper. The white paper I'm swatching on right now is for watercolor. It's a watercolor paper, and it's amazing. You can have our coloring books printed on watercolor paper as well. And then I'm also going to be swatching on black paper. It's not a watercolor paper. It is just a very awesome black cardstock that I adore. So if you would like to purchase a swatch book printed on special paper, then check out the link in the video description and come on over to Coloring Bliss. Now, the first thing I realized as I was swatching these paints is the one that I thought was real silver is actually the pewter color, and the real silver is the very first pan in this case. So I'm so excited to see how it plays out and how different it looks. Did you guys see that? That was some amazing swatching. Oh my goodness. So let me move them in the light. Oh, they are so pretty. Much more opaque than the ones above. Now the ones above are the cheap Hobby Lobby. So way big price difference here. I'm trying to look at, this is, they call it a flip-flop color. So it's supposed to have a payoff of different tones. And in person, I can see it better. Sort of a red violet switching with a blue violet is kind of what I'm seeing happening. The silver is so good with the real silver in it. It is very different, much more, there's a glitter type look to it, but it's not like your typical glitter. It's very like sophisticated glitter, I guess is a good way to put it. But look at these golds. They're amazing, like compared to the Nidgies. Like barely, and then down here it's like so shiny the camera's having trouble on it. Let me show you compared to, these are the Kuretake. Now it's hard to see it because it's not side by side, but these are blowing them all out of the water, and I think it's the opacity of the glitter laying down.
That's what I noticed too. It was like when you were painting
much
them,
more
the first thing
solid.
I saw was less of the black comes up through.
Okay, so here we have the Kuretakes here, the starry, the pearl, and the gem colors. And I swatched them a little differently here. So the top of the swatch is the pure pigment full strength, and then I watered it down as it came down. So this is a better comparison. Oh my goodness. These are really good. Now, where there was a tiny bubble in the paint, the silver bits of flecks of pigment kind of gathered right at the bubble. So I'm going to have to be careful of that as I'm working with them. But it's like night and day difference. So here's their pale gold, their red gold, their golden, their peach gold, and here's the golds in the Finetec. It's just very different.
See if the Twilight will pick up the color.
Wow. Oh yeah, Twilight. This is our flip-flop color here.
Trying to see in the.
I'm going to move it really slow, and hopefully some of that flip-flop effect.
Maybe go this way.
Yeah, I tried that.
It's too bad.
It's not.
You'll just have to trust us. They look even better in person than what you're seeing on screen.
This is really good. In fact, I think I'm going to swatch them again out a little bigger and try doing it like I did up here to see how opaque they are. I want to lay down a black line. Let's give it a try. For these swatches, I wanted to do it on the watercolor paper, and I'm going to lay down a full strength amount of the paint at the top of each square and then add some water to my brush to move that pigment down, and we can see better here on these bigger swatches with the black line through it just how opaque or not opaque each color is. All right, let's see how these look when I move them in the light. They definitely swatch different on a bigger square, and watering them down created a very, well, you can see that it's made from pigment. Lots of little specks of whatever it is that they use to make it pull out into the water. So that's what we're looking at here. But oh my word, the shine is surviving even in the watered down sections. Look at that. And I think the flip-flop color is actually showing off its colors a little better right here. And to tell you the truth, it looks better in the camera than it does here in person. Watered down, this flip-flop. Oh, but wait a second. When you catch it right, it does magic. That's more what I'm seeing, how it looks kind of like dirty. But the second the light catches it, it's like, oh, it's amazing. So I wanted to look and see now. Here are our watered down versions of the Kuretake 3. And I wanted to see how much of the glitter survives in the watered down areas. Not as much as what's surviving here. So I definitely think that these Finetec Premium pearlescent paints are living up to what they said. Very pearlescent, very very amazing. I'm excited to paint with them and color on a coloring page with them and see how they act. There's one more experiment I want to do before we take it to an actual piece of art, because I feel like I haven't learned enough about these paints yet. I want to see how they interact in a wet on wet condition. So let's do some playing. For this test, I want to try a wet on wet technique to see how these paints perform in that situation. So I'm using some watercolor paper from one of my watercolor sketchbooks, and we're going to pre-moisten the whole page, get it nice and wet, and then we're going to drip in these paints and see how they interact with each other, how well they bloom and spread, all those things that I need to know before I can take these paints to an actual coloring page. After using my heat gun to really dry that first layer of wet on wet experiments, I'm going to come on it with a wet on dry now on top of it so we can see the difference between the two different applications. All right, as I'm pulling the tape here from this swatching experiment that I did, first I want to show you how amazing my rinse water is starting to look. Look at that. So pretty. I might try painting with that rinse water and see what it does. We'll see. Okay, so as I'm pulling this tape, the reason I wanted to do this test, like I said, was so that I could see how the paints and the pigments all act and interact in different situations like wet on wet or wet on dry. So I tried to keep all the silver here, all the same colors together, so that we can compare how it acts when it's going into a wet situation, because that's kind of what I was thinking of doing on one of the coloring pages, was starting out with the wet on wet. Excuse me. Well, tearing my paper a little bit. That's okay. So what I discovered is really helpful, actually. The flip-flop paint does not like to do its special effect when it's too watered down. So using it straight out of the palette, super strong with less water, is probably the best way to get what I want out of the flip-flop color. That's this one here. Both the watered down version and the wet on dry version, all of them are having troubles until they're full strength pigment. Then the payoff of that wet on wet is happening. Over here is my silver. This is the real silver that we're painting with right here. And it definitely has a different look. This is still a little bit wet. I need to be careful. Let me move it. Oh, the camera is having a hard time with how shiny my swatch page is. But if you look at where the it went wet on wet, and it spread really beautifully and left behind a beautiful subtle shimmer. Love that effect. Definitely going to try that, because then we can come back on top of it with a much more concentrated amount of the paint and get that look. So all the others kind of did the same thing. They have a different type of shine than the silver, so I think I can use them all side by side and they're going to look different enough. I love that pewter color. That's this one right here. So pretty. And like I said, the camera is just having a really hard time here showing you, oh, that's a good shot there, showing you just how shiny and everything that's happening on the page. Okay, that was fun, but now let's take this paint and do some actual art with it and see what I can come up with. For the Silver Bells coloring page, I wanted to work on watercolor paper, and we're going to take some blue painter's tape again and attach the page down to a plastic cutting board. These are just cheap plastic cutting boards that I pick up at my dollar store, and they are fantastic for projects like this. Highly recommend picking up several of these to have for different projects that you're doing. First thing I want to do for this coloring page is a base layer of our real silver on each of these silver bells. So I'm doing wet on wet technique to let that silver really spread and cover each bell with a base layer. Also, don't forget that I am working on watercolor paper, so if you try to do this type of technique and you're on just a standard cardstock, it will act a little different, but you will be able to get some of these similar effects that you're seeing me do on this paper. While I let those silver bells dry with their base layer, I'm going to also do the same technique around the whole page to create a border. Next, I want to revisit each of the silver bells and add some full strength paint in very specific spots for the little details. In this video, I am using the Mimic brushes by Creative Mark. They're water brushes, and they are amazing. There's a nice set you can purchase that will give you a really good start into some good watercolor brushes, and for not too much money. So I'm going to link these brushes for you in the video description if you've been looking for some good watercolor brushes. While I'm letting those silver bells dry with their first 2 steps on them, I wanted to start putting some color down onto the bow, and I've been debating what to do for this part. I really want to use my flip-flop Twilight color, but I'm a little worried it's going to be crazy. But I'm willing to experiment and see what happens, so let's go in with some flip-flop on the bow. Okay, I've got the first and sometimes the second coat of paint down on this page, and at this point I'm feeling a little panicky because look at how, okay, that direction it looks good, and when the light hits it, it's doing good things, but straight down you can see how splotchy and strange things are looking. Even when I do the wet on dry versus the wet on wet, we're still getting a splotchy effect. So I think going for a second coat on these things will really help. I hope it will. I don't know. The two-tone thing is working. I can see red violet at some points and blue violet. So the flip-flop color is working better across a large area. Alright, I'm going to let this dry really good, and then we'll go on with a second coat onto the bow and the letters and see what happens. So to help with the contrast between the different parts of all the ribbon and the bells, I've decided to grab a couple Polychromos pencils to see if that will help. I grabbed silver number 251 and black number 199. So let's see if these can help with our contrast issues. Well, I think I've kind of come to the end of this experiment with mixed results here. I really want to get over to the black paper because I think it's going to be a little bit more fun than working on the white paper. But what I was struggling with at the end was in certain angles, when the flash goes away and the sparkle goes away, it was looking really splotchy and weird and hard to understand what was bell and what was bow. So I used the two pencils, the colored pencils, to try to add some shading, dimension, and contrast between the different objects. Now, when it catches certain light, it's really spectacular, especially that bow. So let's pull this tape and see it without that distraction. Oh, tearing my paper again. So I knew that potentially the splotchiness was going to be a problem just from our experimenting with the sketchbook. But what I didn't know was going to happen was it didn't really matter how many layers of the paint I laid down. It's just in certain light it looks splotchy and in other light it looks fantastic. So let's show you so you can see the proof what I'm talking about. So like right here you can see when there's no reflection and the beautiful twilight color goes away, it just looks like a grayscale coloring page. And then when you get it in the right light, then magical things happen. Look at the words, the border. So I would call this a mixed success. What do you think, Steve? Okay, Steve came over.
Oh, wow. That purple one, what's it called? Twilight?
The twilight color.
It like has to catch it just right. Otherwise, it doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
But man, when it catches that purple and that blue, it's gorgeous. But when it's not catching it, it just looks muddy.
Yeah, it looks splotchy.
Wow, I really like that though.
So like I said, a mixed success.
Oh, when it catches the light right, it's amazing.
It's really good, isn't it?
It's like
right
you have
there.
to see it just right from the
I think you
right
can
angle.
see it right
Yeah.
there.
That's the blue, and then I really like that purple angle too.
Yeah.
It can catch it.
So let's try it on the black paper now. I'm going to try all of them, not just the silver and the twilight. We're just going to have fun on this mandala here. And yeah, you can't see a thing at this point. But in a minute, when I hold this up, it's going to be spectacular.
So that's the silver paint?
That's the silver paint. And I did 2 coats trying to get rid of the splotchy problems. And it just likes to be splotchy.
Like I said, it's also the same as that twilight where when it catches it right,
yep,
it's amazing.
Which
but
I
when
did
it doesn't,
2
it looks muddy.
quotes on that too,
Yeah.
to try to get rid of the splotchy.
Interesting.
Okay, let's try it on black. I love it. It's just fun to play with all the different colors and metallics. My brush strokes are not as smooth as I would hope, and sometimes it really shows off. But so far, I'm in love with this mandala. Now, there's one little oops I made right here where a drip of the rinse water landed on the paper. And as you can see, this rinse water is so full of mica and silver and whatever fancy magic they did. It left quite a blob on my paper. So I think I'm just going to embrace my oops and do some speckling across the page with my rinse water. So let me take my face off of here and let you see if this is a big mistake or is it going to look cool. So I'm just going to spritz a whole bunch around. So this is very diluted, just the rinse water. So I'm hoping it won't be as metallic and as pearlescent as the actual bells and the designs I laid in. But also I'm hoping to hide my mistake and other mistakes, like uneven brush strokes. So I'm concentrating these spritzes on the outer edges, and we'll see how this turns out. I really like that this was a big drip, so I'm wondering if I do the same thing, lay some big messy drips here on the edges. The other thing that I have noticed is, of course, this is not watercolor paper. This is just a high quality cardstock, and it was a little easier to paint this type of paint onto cardstock instead of the watercolor paper. So that was a fun thing to discover. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit more here on the edges. And I definitely think I'm going to save this rinse water for another project, because there's so much sparkle and shine in it that it's worth painting with. Okay, so this page now has been sort of primed with about 3 layers of the glitter wash water from the Finetec paints, and I gave it this overall sheen. It's really subtle, but it's there, and it's really pretty. That would be a fun way if I'm ever doing wet in wet technique. The first layer of wet could be the Finetec glitter rinse water, just to give everything a very subtle sheen. Cool. Okay, let's pull the tape. I asked Steve to come over and see how it looks.
I don't know. I have real mixed feelings about it.
Yeah, me too.
It's the same as on white that I said. When it shines, it really shines, and it's so amazing. But when it's not shining,
It looks
it's kind of
wrong.
disappointing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right.
Yeah. If we could always have the light hitting it at the right
exactly.
angle, it would be perfect. And that's the same problem I had with the cheaper metallic and glitter paints. So it's the same essence, the same problem. You can do multiple layers, that helps. Really clean brush strokes, that helps. But if you miss a spot or your hand wiggles a little bit, it really shows up when you make a mistake. But you know, it's so much
But
fun.
when it's shining, it's amazing.
When the light hits it.
Oh, and I love all the different colors of gold.
Now, I wanted you to look at the little speckles I added. That was from the rinse water.
Oh, cool.
Just straight rinse water. So pretty cool. Comment below. I would love to know, do you think painting with this bougie, this expensive of paint is worth the dollar point for this paint? Or do you think I got gypped? What do you think? $58?
For how many colors? 6?
For 6 colors plus a free one.
Yeah.
Thanks, Blick. But is it any better than the Kuretake's?
I don't know. You'd have to do like some kind of side-by-side comparison. I think that if you needed that for something, like you had a very specific purpose.
Yeah, calligraphy. That's
then,
one of the purposes.
I mean, it's amazing.
But side by side right here, they look very fun, especially when you can get that bow in the right light.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I love having that splash of color in with the gold and silver.
Yeah, that was fun. So I would love to know, what do you think? Is it worth the $58? I'm on the fence. Moments there are that I'm like, yes, worth every penny. And then other moments that I'm like, maybe not. So I would also like to know, how do you use your sparkle glitter paints? Is there a particular thing you do with it? Calligraphy, just certain highlights? What do you do with your sparkle and glitter and pearlescent paints? But as I say, it is what it is. I learned a lot. I had fun, and I like them sometimes more than I thought I would, and sometimes less than I thought I would. How's that for a confusing result? Yeah. So I hope that you all have a happy holiday and that you enjoyed watching me play with this silver paint, real silver. And I am going to hang on to my rinse water because it's just epic, and I think I can do some cool things with it. So thanks for joining me. Check out the links in the video description for all the products and all the coloring pages that you saw featured here tonight. And I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season, a Merry Christmas, and just have some wonderful time with your friends and family. That's my hope for all of you. And do some art too, something blingy. All right, I hope you have a wonderful, colorful, blissful day. Bye everyone. Say bye, Rosie. Bye-bye. We're such a good girl. Such a good girl.